Hello and welcome to another video, everybody. My name is Adam, and as always, please subscribe, like, leave comments. If you dislike, thumbs down, leave a comment. Tell us why so we can fix it. Anyway, this video is about a ruling that has snuck up on a number of people, I believe, and will do so on the 7th of July. This is going to affect approximately 115,000 people in 2022. The FAA assessed that there were 115,000 certificate holders that this would impact. I would say there would be more now, 2025, giving us a few years to add some people to that roster. So who does this apply to? This applies to anyone who does not have a U.S. physical address of record on file with the FAA, or someone who has a foreign address of record on file with the FAA and who holds or applies for certificates, ratings, or authorizations under these parts in the ruling. I will leave a link to the final ruling in the comments so you can have a look at that. Please pass this on because I think there are a number of people in this situation who are going to be affected by this. Basically, these are the foreign pilots who are operating on a U.S. certificate, U.S. FAA certificate, flying probably a U.S. registered aircraft in a foreign nation. Perfectly legal. However, this is going to apply to them, and there are a lot of them. So if you know people who are under this circumstance, please let them know. Send them this video, let them know this is coming, 7 July. So what is this U.S. agent for service? A U.S. agent for services is basically an entity or an adult, individual who is over 18, with a U.S. address, who a certificate, rating, or authorization holder has designated to receive FAA service on their behalf. Okay, so why is this occurring? Basically, the FAA have said they're sick and tired of hunting people down to serve them legal papers in whichever form, and they can't find them because a lot of foreigners with foreign addresses who change addresses don't let the FAA know. So now they are saying you must have an address in the US. We will send those papers to the US address, and that person is then responsible for forwarding that information and letting the certificate holder know that this paperwork has been served to them by the FAA. Puts the onus on the certificate holder rather than the FAA. First date to be concerned about is 6th of January 2025. That has now passed, and so if you are an individual under this rule, you don't have a physical US address or a foreign address, you cannot apply for a certificate unless you do designate a US agent for service. So you can't even get the certificate unless you have one. 7th of July is going to be the big one, because as soon as that goes into effect, any individual holding a certificate can no longer operate under the privileges of that certificate if they have not designated a U.S. agent for service to the FAA. And the aircraft registration is also being affected here. So the aircraft registration after this date, if you do not designate a U.S. agent for service, is going to be ineffective, which puts your insurance at issue if you are operating under a U.S. certificate that you shouldn't be operating under, and flying in an aircraft that is registered with the FAA, but you have gone past this date. That is ineffective, that registration. So I would recommend that you designate a U.S. agent for service. And there are going to be links in that final rule, tells you how to do it, who qualifies, and the process to notify the FAA of this U.S. agent for service. This will all be under 14 CFR Part 3.303, and you can look that up in the rulemaking that I will put in the comments with the link. Okay, I hope this helps. Let me know, and as always, take care, and we'll see you next time. God bless. Bye.